Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I take this opportunity to welcome you once again to our wonderful, exciting show, Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We bring life-changing business information to you, something that can add value, something that can energize you and empower you. And do I have the man just for the job this particular episode? I've brought to the studio Mr. Calvin Mpo. I want to say this name right. I don't want to make a mistake. Ketshabetswe from Botswana Bitc. And as always, I leave it to my visitors and my guests to explain themselves, to introduce themselves. Can you do that for us, Mr. Ketshabetswe?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mogobe.
Yes.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be in your show this morning.
Yes.
My name is Calvin Mpo Ketshabetswe. I come from a village called Sarowe, and I'm currently working at the Botswana Investment and Trade Center as export promotion manager. Of course, I've been privileged and graced to have been part of the transformation from the former institution. Normally they used to call it the Botswana Export Development and Investment Authority, which you, I'm sure, are aware, merged with the then IFSC to become BITC today in 2012. Yes.
What were these two organizations doing separately before?
The focus of the IFSC by then was specifically on international financial services, that sector on its own, which looks at investment in the areas of banking, in the areas of insurance and the like, and also your BPO's business process outsourcing. BEDIA by then was specifically focusing on attraction of investment promotion and also the development of export initiatives that were aimed at assisting our companies here in Botswana to actually find the export market.
Yes. And what is your the mandate of BITC, or shall I say your mandate personally in terms of your section?
Our mandate, where I'm sitting, is in a department called Export. It hasn't really changed, Export Development and Promotion. And it's a department that is aimed at building capacity for local manufacturers, companies in Botswana that have interest in taking advantage of opportunities that exist in the export market or outside the country. I think what is also key there is the fact that we look at the transformation agenda that is driven by our government and ensuring that we go with the export-led economy and also being in a position to develop products and point them in the right direction in finding regional and international markets.
Okay.
Over and above that, we ensure that we look at all the forms of gaps that exist by diagnosing these companies and work hand in hand with other stakeholders to ensure that we package some interventions which would help them to carry out their manufacturing processes and packaging and quality. I'll talk about these later when we talk about our exporter development program.
How does BITC, which is your organization, interact with the average Motswana, or shall I say the average entrepreneur? Is there any kind of platforms or arrangements for interaction, and how does that take place?
Perhaps to start, in terms of what value add would be to an average Botswana. The starting point would be for us to say that BITC exists to bring wealth into our country. And we want the average Botswana to be, a party to this, to take part in this portion of wealth generated through foreign direct investment attraction, as well as, enabling them to have jobs. It's job creation. So two things for me is their participation in the economic development of the country and sharing in the wealth that's generated by industries that we attract. And secondly, to also bridge this gap. As you know, there's so much high levels of unemployment, especially among the youth. So BITC's business at the end of the day, and also with the current government, is to ensure that we create jobs for our young people.
Okay. Before we really drill deeper and dig deeper into this, can you tell us your personal background? How did you gravitate towards BITC? How did you end up where you are?
Yeah, a very interesting story for me, and I hope I would inspire some young people out there. I joined the then BDIA in the year 2001, and as a computer technician.
It's a computer technician?
Yes. You would be shocked that perhaps my strong background is in the ICT industry. And I have seen my personal growth from those years up to where I am when I'm sitting in a business unit taking care of exporters in the country. When we started in BDIA, we ensured that our investors were taken good care of. I was one of the nominated officers in 2010 to be leading a project by then called the World Expo. I'm sure you are aware of World Expo.
I've heard of the World Expo.
I actually had some very good growth in seeing that project. I was actually overseeing the project, and I landed in China in a city called...
What year was this?
This was 2010. I landed in a city called Shanghai, where the World Expo was taking place, and you were talking about over 200 countries and international organizations convening in one place. It was huge. So for me, that's where my eyes were opened, and I realized that it's important for you to never really stay in one place.
Is the World Expo bigger than the Canton Fair? I've been to the Canton Fair.
It's way, way bigger than the Canton Fair because it's a 6 months World Exposition, and you get to interact with several countries from across the globe. You look at the trends and technology. You are exposed to several other entrepreneurs who are doing good things out there. And outside that environment, that's when you begin to see life outside Botswana and what the world is also doing. When you come back, you can't sleep. And that's exactly what happened to me. So when I came back, I was redeployed to join in the business unit called Export Development and Promotion.
You couldn't sleep, obviously, because you were excited about what you've seen.
The excitement,
and you wanted to apply.
Yes, the excitement about what the world offers out there and what an outside environment can do to your life. So for me, I think those were my humble beginnings. I went through the processes of training. I attended some training also in Ireland, some executive development programs as well by my employer, and also training also in the areas of bringing service provision and excellence to our investors. Because when you deal with investors, you need to be kept abreast in terms of the trends in the world economy.
Yes.
Trends also in what the foreign direct investment is doing out there in the world. So from that background to be where I am today, I can confidently say that even if I step out and give way to our youngsters to join in at BITC, I probably would be sitting in a regional consultancy firm. also taking over and assisting many other clients from Botswana and other countries to take advantage of exports.
So you've gone from ITC to the highest level on BITC. Have you seen the mandate evolve in this time, or has it stayed more or less the same compared to how it was during Bedia?
There has been great improvement, especially with the strategic objectives. Of recent, with the visionary leadership of Re Ketshabetswe, who is our current chief executive. He is driving our 5-year strategy, which started in 2018. Part of that was for us to, how transition sometimes is not easy. Change management takes time. If you were having, a pool of talent from 2 different organizations and bringing them and merging them, it's not always easy to bring everybody on board. But I'm excited to say that there has been great improvement in terms of our ways of attracting investment, in terms of the services that we provide to our investors and also our local investors, in terms of market access, new products that have been developed, and how our people have been benefiting from the services that are provided by BITC. There are so many services.
We'll deal with the services in a moment.
Yes.
HE recently gave a speech on reset, I think 2 or 3 months ago.
Yes.
And he repeated the idea of a reset 2 days ago when he spoke to the nation on, I think, Tuesday evening.
Yes.
How does BITC fit into all this? Do you also have to reset yourselves?
Most definitely. Remember that our parent ministry, the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, is where we report to. And it's not only us, we also have sister organizations which are also having other mandates that are geared towards the economic development and job creation as well. For us at BITC, especially in the pandemic, we needed to come back to the table and then re-strategize. And part of what we were doing was for us to now focus on domestic investment, seeing that the pandemic has changed the climate. Travel restrictions to start with. We can't go to the countries and markets that we want to attract investment from. We also cannot sell our products to the regional and international
At least not in the same way as before.
Yes. So we needed to come back, and our focus this time around was in also enabling the business environment in the area of domestic, industry, seeing what other opportunities we can assist in. It is in the space of a local enterprise authority who deal with startups and would eventually hand them over to us to develop for export market. You also are aware of what SEDA has actually achieved over the years. So these are some of the industries that we also had to reset, sit down and focus. And we obviously can't report to our principals without aligning ourselves to the strategy that His Excellency would have given to us. So through our parent ministry, and as well as the leadership of our Honorable Minister, we are able to get alignment and report on the reset that has been set for us.
Interesting. Maybe we'll dig deeper into that reset. But can you just explain to the viewer what are the key or the principal services of BITC?
Yes. Our mandate is in 3 folds. The first one speaks to foreign direct investment attraction, as well as domestic investment by way of facilitating, expansion of industries. Earlier on, I was talking about how layer handholds businesses that were startups. They grow to become small, medium enterprises. And by the time they hand them over to us, they have got some experience in the industry, and we take over by way of introducing them to the markets that we believe, they can compete in. So we attract foreign direct investment for new industries in Botswana.
That's number one.
That's number one. And also on the domestic investment, we facilitate expansions for citizen-owned, and also foreign-owned industries. The number 2 it's obviously where now we talk to the development of our companies for export readiness, and also promoting Botswana products in the regional and international markets.
In terms of marketing them?
Yes, we market them. I think we'll talk about that at a later stage as well. And then the third mandate that we are handling as BITC is that of brand management. Here we manage perceptions about Botswana as a country, our people, our assets, our resources, and how these reflect on our economic development, because normally that's where people would want to see. And this also helps us to pay close attention to monitoring of the business environment that keeps changing from time to time. So our role there also on the brand management side is to ensure that our ratings are not as bad as what other countries are offering, because that's what investors look up to. Yeah.
Do you then deal with the Moody's of this world and the other, the other rating agencies?
Yes. Trade promotion organizations and trade support institutions who have got a similar agenda like ours or mandate like ours are exposed to these ratings, because they cut across in terms of the doing business reports and also corruption, perceptions about a country, and also whether it's good or bad to do business in Botswana. So yes, we from time to time, get exposed or subjected to these, so that our rankings are listed and investors do check on these things.
Okay. There is a challenge currently, isn't it, insofar as the blacklisting of our country is concerned. What is BITC doing about that, and is the problem being solved?
I want to believe, like I said earlier, we engage extensively with other stakeholders in the Botswana economy. And part of the reason why we do that is simply to get guidance. And also, we do have policy reforms that we suggest to government in terms of improvement of way of doing business in the country. So our business environment, it's based on what people think about us. A challenge such as the one that you mentioned, it is through the Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders who are, I know, currently working hard in ensuring that this is, mitigated or a solution.
Are we winning?
We should be winning. We should be winning. Excuse me. We should be winning because the reports that we get, or the monitoring and evaluation that is conducted by other stakeholders, our CEO sits in these high-level meetings with the Honorable Minister to report and also get high-level reports about what's been done. Remember that this has the involvement of fear. This has the involvement of security agents to ensure that some of these things that were discovered, which do not say well about our image as a country.
Talking about human trafficking allegations.
Yes.
And allegations about money laundering.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are some of the challenges that may come with the forms of, or the types of investors that we attract in the country. It's not only a problem from the investment promotion side of things. You also may be looking at crime-related, challenges, which also security, agents are working on. So for us, it's an issue that we would keep reporting on, and also on what we hear from what our investors are saying on the ground, and advise government and the relevant authorities to actually do something about that.
Okay. Export promotion and the dealing with the Botswana Exporter. Obviously, your success or otherwise will be determined by the numbers in terms of improvement. What did you say the last 5 to 10 years has been the trajectory in terms of exports and export promotion? Are we going up? Are we at a plateau, or are we going down?
We as a country are closely monitoring the level of export revenue our country realizes as a result of our initiatives, and not only BITC initiatives, also by other stakeholders. I must say that we are currently doing quite well, except for the challenge that has been posed recently by the pandemic. But over the other years, when we started
pre-pandemic.
Yes, pre-pandemic, we were doing quite well. I can attest to a few companies that really had no business at all in exporting, who are currently, becoming seasoned exporters in the region. And not only in the region, you are looking at the development of these markets, outside the region, even globally. So our exporters do have challenges there and there. And the main aim of us as BITC is to ensure that we help them, or we assist them in bringing in information or knowledge base that would help them to, get rid of these challenges and be able to see the opportunities. And these are real export opportunities that we map from time to time that help our companies to realize there is need for them to look outside. Even when we make presentations or value propositions to our investors out there, we do not only focus on the domestic market, being Botswana. We look at the region itself. If you look at our strategic location on the map as a country, it gives us access.
We're landlocked, but we're in the middle.
Landlocked. We're landlocked, but we're strategically placed to become a hub of trade. And quite recently, you are aware of the infrastructural developments that are ongoing, and the opening of the Kazungula, bridge, which is going to really have some economic activities centered around that, as well as a pathway from the Durban, when you talk about the north-south, corridor.
Yeah.
There is so much there that is going to be, helping and improving the level of trade in our country, and also taking advantage of what exists on the ground in terms of trade agreements, in terms of free trade areas, in terms of economic partnership agreements. Those are protocols that as BITC will leverage on to ensure that our people find a path that takes them to these foreign markets.
Yeah. But entrepreneurs are very practical people. So for them, the question that comes to mind is, in your hand-holding exercise to help these exporters, can you give one or two examples without necessarily mentioning names where we could say we have quote-unquote successes, or successes about which you are proud?
Yes. Yes, quite a number of testimonies that we can give out there. And like you said, we may not say names, but the industries that we have facilitated for, I can point to, the AGOA dispensation, access into the US market. We've done some good work, and I can assure you that there are companies right now that have started exporting to the US market. And these are companies that have enjoyed our hand-holding in terms of, the certifications they require to compete in that market. You may be faced with stringent requirements by certain markets, but we ensure that we get experts from anywhere in the world and sit down with our companies and offer them that. There are companies that are doing organic products. Some of them are doing cosmetics. Some of them are, selling morula raw oil. Morula oil is a high value,
item.
Yeah. And in the US, there is so much, demand for it. And if only our people can actually realize that it's also a green diamond of some sort that they can.
Here's your chance to shamelessly plug what you've done for the morula manufacturers.
Yeah, it's a raw material that you sell to cosmetics companies, even some pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
I think secondly, also on the agri side of things, the agribusiness, there are companies that have started, making use of just compost, turning it into granules, becoming organic fertilizers. If you there's a company, and not only one company, and when you talk organic, this is the route that we are all taking, because the chemical fertilizers, they say normally they have a bearing in terms of destroying the structure of the environment. But when you say organic, there are no chemicals at all. And as I speak with you right now, they have been able to export to certain markets, Zambia, Zimbabwe, DRC, and we are hopeful that even in the South African market.
Through your facilitation?
Through our facilitation. Even in the South African market, which is our larger, most of our products go into the South African market, much as we have a high import bill from South Africa. So that to us is some success story which we want to put forward out there. There are companies that are right now manufacturing automotive components. Some of our people don't know that the Mercedes-Benz that you are driving today, the wiring ignition sets are manufactured in Botswana. And if you had a chance to open up the dashboard and just find out, maybe if somebody's repairing your radio, you would see a tag that speaks to a Botswana-based firm that's actually manufacturing that to us is a success story as well. There are many others who are also doing components such as your batteries for vehicles. There are those who are also, doing all other products that we can go on and mention. So
let me understand how this works. A manufacturer comes to you, say, look, I have no clue about this market. Can you help me penetrate it? Then what do you then do? Do you go into consultation with that particular market in terms of seeing the lawyers there and trying to see what laws and barriers exist, getting into tariff negotiations? Exactly how does it work in practical mechanical terms?
Yes, thank you for that. 3 things. The first thing that we do is we have adopted a pool of market intelligence tools that we are utilizing to map opportunities for our companies. If a manufacturer comes to me and says, Calvin, I want to send my products into South Africa, I obviously would want to look at the product. We use the harmonized system codes. Every product in the world has an HS code. And an HS
Perhaps
code.
for those who know you don't know, you may need to explain that for a minute.
The HS code is a unique ID that's given to a product that wherever it goes in the world, that becomes a unique key that we can identify it on. I can just say that some countries are producing red bananas, not yellow or green bananas. There are those who are also producing oranges that are not necessarily orange in color. So you may get confused. So the harmonized system coding works with the World Trade Organization, and every country that's exporting, that's a unique identifier for that product in terms of its color. You may have the 4 digits, you may have the 6-digit figure. It speaks to the attributes of the product and what sort of chapter is it found in. So for any product in the world, you can actually tell by looking at the chapter it belongs to. And
Is
then
it some big book with chapters?
Well, it's not necessarily a book. It's a system that the world uses. For any product in the world that you can think of, it has an HS coding. I'll give an example with meat. When you say meat, there is a bovine, boneless, meat, such as the one that our Botswana Meat Commission sends to the European Union market and other markets. It doesn't have bones. It's only boneless, and it's also chilled or it's also frozen. So that speaks to cow, meat. You also have all other animals that some people, don't know of. So the first thing is that we utilize our market intelligence tools to map. Some help us with desktop research, just to pinpoint to an overview of the market. Some of these tools help us to drill down and really find specific, even buyers who are competing in the market.
Not just their demand in general, but specific buyers as well.
Specific buyers as well. And also you look at the value of the opportunities. We have another system that we use, we call it the decision support model. It was developed by our partners in South Africa, the University of Northwest. And what it does is that for any product in the world, it gives you bubbles in terms of the value of the demand of the product in that particular market.
Wow.
You can actually drill in and be able to see who are the competing suppliers that Botswana company will be competing with. And then you also have your global atlas, tools that also gives you that one. It's a first world market tool that helps us to also go beyond just being an overview of the market, but it gives you up to the last 2 months, you will know which country exported what to what market.
So you do all this research from the comfort of your offices before you even consider traveling to various markets?
It's with the market intelligence tools, we work hand in hand with our business intelligence unit, which is more or less our strategy and research unit. We also, from the export side of things, yes, use those tools just to map as desktop research. But the second thing that you would note also is that we have what we call market surveys. With market surveys, we collaborate with international service providers who have had presence in the global economy, renowned companies that we request to conduct a market survey. A market survey would be a document.
You cover that expense, or does the entrepreneur have to cover all that?
BITC covers those expenses.
So you actually just assist totally on the marketing side?
We assist on all export markets and map opportunities for any product that we believe can compete in any given market. That also gives us a chance to look at your ITC tools, which would give us trade map.
This is a good time for me now to prod you about the development program market access.
Okay.
Say something about that program.
The development
program market access.
Oh, okay. Yes. This is where we were talking about earlier, our Botswana Exporter Development Program. The aim of this program and in its establishment was to ensure that we diagnose companies that have willingness to start exporting. Remember that everybody
locally.
You remember that some local companies right now may not necessarily have any appetite in exporting. But once you present opportunities to them, they may be able to make a decision and they would want to be handheld. What does it take for me to do that? This is what the program does. We identify, we do conduct diagnosis and then be able to see where the gaps are. And from anywhere in the world, we look for experts, industry experts, who can come and work with this company to ensure that all this
Let me then ask you about my company, just to see how it works.
Okay.
We are principally into acquisition of property, development of property, in the commercial, industrial, and multi-residential space. How would someone like you and BITC assist us? What is the first starting point if we want to expand outside the borders?
My first question would be, which market would you want to really go into? I'll give you a choice. If you say to me Zambia, I go to Zambia, get on our ITC tools or market intelligence tools and see how property is faring or competing in Zambia. What are the opportunities there for you as a company based in Botswana? If you say, I have interest, I drill it down.
If I just say I want a peace-loving African country where there are opportunities, which is democratic, somewhere across the continent.
Yes. We give you an overview of those markets. It's a market you want to compete in. And by the way, you know that Botswana fares pretty much well in terms of the investment climate. So if you want to move from here and get, let's say, if I want to take you to the DRC, I know you may say it's a red flag for you because you are thinking about wars. No. There are opportunities of infrastructural development there. You stand a chance to actually sit among some of the investors or partners who would want you to be in the DRC right now. It's a dollarized economy. Infrastructural development is at its infancy stage following what happened to them in the past. And we have already mapped that market. We do have a survey that we conducted, and there are several opportunities.
The first question for an investor is, how's the political risk there?
Political risk will always be there in any given country. For us, we are thankful it hasn't happened over the years. But look at the unrests that are actually happening in our neighboring countries. It would always be there. Remember that as a business person, when you make an investment decision, it's a high risk, high return, or you can also weigh your risk appetite. Some parts of the world are not as we read about them until you actually step on the ground and see what's in there.
Yeah, the CNN tends to report the West only.
Thank you for saying that. Well, I don't work for CNN, but I know. I know, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
The bottom line here is that at BITC, we can assist you on any given market access that you're looking for. And also, if you want to expand your company operations, opening a subsidiary in Zambia, for instance, we can actually assist you to even, see what the market looks like, and also help you with potential investors that we believe you can do a joint venture partnership with. Remember that part of our stakeholders across the globe are our embassies and high commissions, and these are our eyes on the ground. So whenever an inquiry comes that we believe we cannot be able to deal with.
Do you know, it just struck me as you're talking, Kelvin, that Botswana don't know about you. Not enough people know what your organization does.
Yes.
Who's to blame for this? It looks like here's a tool that is ideally positioned for the entrepreneurial market and for the export market, but nobody knows enough about it to take advantage of it. Has that been your experience?
A lot of our Botswana don't know much about our services, and we do have campaigns that are aimed towards educating our people. Our literacy rate is quite high. Our adult literacy rate is over 80%. I think it's around 83 or so.
Yeah. One of the highest in Africa.
One of the highest in Africa.
If not the highest.
Yes. You meet anybody on the street now, they can actually speak English. They can actually read between the lines. So part of what we do every financial year is to ensure that through our brand management, we talk to the local citizens here, the taxi people, men on the street, entrepreneurs, on any fora that we believe would educate them about our services. And sometimes we even do what we call exporters round table, where we come and sit down with our exporters, who are our investors, to really talk about the challenges. In these platforms, we talk to them about our services as well. We present to them the incentives that the government of Botswana is offering through BITC and our parent ministry. We also speak to them about opportunities that we believe could, grow their businesses. So we do also have social media platforms that are geared towards having our people involved. Remember when you started, I said we want to increase participation of citizens in the wealth of the economy of Botswana and in its development.
Because wealth is one of your major objectives, wealth creation.
Yes, we create wealth and we want Botswana to be part of this. So through our brand management exercise, we do have initiatives. Remember, there is also those who are staying outside the country. So we do have ambassadorship campaigns. We do have the PushaBW campaign, which
we're going to talk about just now.
Talk about, and then we also have For Me campaign, the one that says I need to take responsibility for being a Motswana.
Never heard of that one. Can you explain that one?
Where you live the brand, Mogobe. If you are here and we are managing perception about our country as BITC. We talk about the assets of our nation. We talk about our tourism. We talk about the business climate. So for us to have investors come in here who want to have a taste of that, we need to educate our people and tell them that, look, when you meet with investors, this is what we expect of you as a citizen. We want you to live the brand. You need to be able to demonstrate that you are a Motswana, and the things we talk about here, you actually know about them. Imagine, if you are on a business travel, you happen to be on the plane as a Motswana, and there are other business people that are sitting, at business class, and all of a sudden a topic rises about Botswana. The expectation is that we want you to be able to articulate what Botswana is made of.
The expectation is you go beyond diamonds and beef.
Beyond diamonds and beef.
And say a little bit more than that.
Of course.
Yeah.
So the brand management campaigns are also in ensuring that we live the brand. So that wherever we go, when people say certain things about our country.
Let me ask you about BOSSC. BOSSC. BOSSC, Botswana One-Stop Service Center.
Yes.
What is the thinking behind that, and how is it being operationalized?
We want to improve our way of doing business as a country. This came about because we realized that we don't want our investors to have this bureaucracy where they are taught, from one pillar to post. We deliberately,
Which happens a lot.
Which happens a lot in many countries. Once an investor approaches us and wants to establish a manufacturing plant in Botswana, as long as the proposal goes through our assessment as BITC, if it speaks to the priority sectors, if it speaks to the number of jobs it's going to create, if the level of investment is right, then we can give it accreditation and all other aspects of requirements as an industry. We give it accreditation. Once they obtain accreditation, we don't want them to go and line up at immigration for their work and residence permits. We don't want them to obtain licensing through government departments. What we then did as BITC was to set up a Botswana One-Stop Service Center where all these,
where is it physically?
Requirements.
It's in your office?
It's in our ground floor.
Ground floor?
Yes, okay. It's in our ground floor in CBD Gaborone.
Yes.
And I'm saying CBD Gaborone because we do have other offices externally outside the country.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes. So the BOSSC aim is to cut the red tape. We want you to obtain your business registration quicker, your licensing quicker.
How long has it been active, and how successful has it been so far?
A lot of improvement has gone into way of doing business as a result of our BOSSC. We see so much approval rate as opposed to when it was not there. Our investors are quite happy with the service. The feedback we are getting from our clients is that they are really looking forward to it and saying that this has really helped us bridge the gaps. So
are you saying foreigners no longer queue at immigration and labor?
Foreigners who queue at immigration and labor are probably those who haven't walked into our offices for assistance. Because for us, remember that it's not every person that we are going to handhold unless they have a project that they are saying would contribute to the GDP of this country and that they would create employment and things like that. So in other words, it's only when you have walked into our offices or have inquired and we are aware of your inquiry and we can assist you.
And you have to meet a certain litmus test before you can get that service. And what is it? Is it a certain threshold in terms of employment potential and so on?
Yeah, these are the requirements. For instance, I can just let you know, I think if we have not changed, the minimum level of investment for a foreign investor starts at around $500,000 US, equivalent of around 5 million. And then for a domestic expansion, we want to start assisting companies with that threshold set of about, I think is it half a million? No, it's around $1 million actually. Yeah, it's 100,000.
Is it turnover or just the market capitalization of the company?
It's the level of investment that we are looking forward to.
Okay.
There are all other aspects surrounding that, like you have alluded to, the number of jobs created, the investment level. Does it fall under government's priority sector as one that is being echoed through our Vision 2036? Or are we also talking to NDP 11 initiatives that our government is driving? And these are, achieved through BITC and other stakeholders.
Let's talk about Brand Botswana. I know that we have a slogan, my Botswana, my destination, or Botswana, your destiny. What does it say?
You see, now we need to educate you, Mogobe.
No, I know it, but it just slipped my mind. What is it called?
It's our pride.
Yes.
Your destination.
Our pride, your destination. Yes.
It gives us a sense of pride as an institution that is graced with brand management to actually, educate our people. The brand management, like I said, is managing perception. You've got the domestic portfolio that looks at the citizens themselves, and then you also have the international portfolio that speaks to Botswana who is working outside the country. Any other person who is going to be a country representative must be able to articulate what this is. It gives us a sense of pride and ownership to actually also appeal to tourists.
Explain that brand, because there was a time when It was something like it was a bit different from my
Okay.
prior destination.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what there was a fancy word involved, and I remember at the time Dignesh made fun of it that it's
Okay.
too long. Do you remember what it was? I can't remember the big word that was used there.
But I know it has been a long journey, and we know that even up to now, some of our people may not have necessarily agreed.
Something
to
like
that.
beacons. It used to say Botswana beacons or something like that, and it
Yes.
lasted for 6 months, and there was an
Yes.
uproar, and then it
Yeah.
was changed. Are you familiar with what happened there?
Opportunity beacons.
Yeah, something like
Yes.
that.
It's I think it's natural for citizens to actually not be in agreement with certain initiatives that either government or any other stakeholders in the country come up with.
Yes.
Coming up with a brand, remember by then we were starting the brand management aspect of things. In other countries, brand management is a totally separate institution. But at BITC, our ministry found it fit that since we are at the forefront and a leading institution for FDI attraction, we are the ones who interact a lot with the foreign direct investment or investors out there and visitors. So yes, it used to be that, and then it was developed after so much stakeholder engagement, including even the business community, including even all other citizens who had issues with it. But once it was, explained to them how it works, everybody felt that sense of ownership, which is why today it is now our pride mark.
Yes.
And this pride mark, everywhere it goes, whether it's on a product that is coming from Botswana into the region or globally, or any event that is tagged PushaBW or Botswana.
So can anybody use it?
It's not.
Can you stick on your letterhead however you want?
No, there are rules to it.
Oh, tell us
There
about
are rules to it. We have on our www.brandbotswana.co.bw website, we have so much information about the approach into using the pride mark. Those who are manufacturing products can use it. There are do's and don'ts, and obviously we do have the guidelines that govern that. And for you to actually be approved to use it, you have to be in touch with our brand management team. There is a form that you
It's not a matter of whether being a government organization or not. Even private sector organizations can use it?
Even private sector organizations can use it. This is just a representation of our image as a country. And once you put it in, there are ways of putting it in. If it's in black and white, there are ways of putting it in. If it's in certain backgrounds, we cannot allow you to expand it and pull it around as an image. So there are rules to it. In fact, even in your clothing, the way the brand appears, the brand mark appears in your products also matters. Yeah, so there are certain rules and processes that we need to engage you in and also educate you so that its utilization becomes meaningful and adds value.
So even reputationally, you have to demonstrate that the reputation of your business is consistent, isn't it?
Yes, it has to go with that. Remember that different businesses, some are offering services, some are manufacturing products. Once you come to us and request that you want to utilize the pride mark, we will give you guidelines, and we would give you an officer who would be constantly be in touch with you in ensuring that they handhold you through the process. And we work with different stakeholders. I realized when I walked in, I didn't see the pride mark in the offices, but I know it's going to come. Because once you make a decision to now also do trading services, whereas Mogobe, you want to take your property business into another country, you may choose to have that on your website. You may choose to have that on your services, offering.
By all means, if I qualify, I want it.
You will qualify because we ensure that we all live the brand. Other countries now have made it compulsory that for any product that comes out of the country, it has to be, earmarked that it is made and like proudly South African.
Yeah.
For us, is our pride, your destination.
Yes.
Because that that mark gives us a sense of pride as Botswana.
Yes.
And the fact that these are coming from our country and are manufactured by our own people.
Okay.
And they meet the quality standards of
All
our
right.
markets.
Let's move our conversation to hashtag PushaBW.
Yes.
What's behind that and what does it mean to you?
The campaign is aimed at promoting local, whether it's products, events, or some good things coming out of Botswana. The PushaBW campaign specifically works much in the domestic market here in Botswana, where we are saying and encouraging Botswana to buy products that are made by Botswana, whether these are from infancy stage or not. I don't know if you've had the privilege of seeing our PushaBW catalog. If you look at the products that we've featured in that catalog,
Where does one find it?
it's in our website.
Okay.
If you go to gobotswana.com and also in our www.brandbotswana.co.bw, you'll find even the campaigns I was talking about.
Yes.
So these initiatives are aimed at saying, hey, even in our local shops here, in retail shops, we are party to encouraging that they also allow Botswana products to be seen in the shelves. So the PushaBW campaign does not only speak to Botswana products, but also speaks to a whole lot of other events that are speaking to our
So
culture.
can anybody appropriate it? I see that on social media, sometimes I use it to promote
If
this show.
if it's an event that speaks to the pride of Botswana, the tradition,
Yes.
if you talk about our culture.
In other words, it's nothing proprietary or it's not registered and owned by somebody at SIPA.
It's hashtag PushaBW. Once you say it used to be called By Botswana. Now, By Botswana was more or less on products only. But with the PushaBW campaign, it's not only on products, but we are also talking about events that talk about, even if we have a DJ who is performing, out there, and the music is up to scratch and everybody is gathered there, we simply can use hashtag PushaBW to say this is our own DJ and we are proud to have him be performing like that.
Does one need permission to use it?
In terms of the hashtag, it will obviously take you to the PushaBW, anything about Botswana. If it's an event and you use hashtag PushaBW, remember it has got followership, if that's the right word to use.
Yes.
So it obviously would be hashtagging the events and products and people of Botswana. So whoever goes in there would then be able to understand that the initiative is geared towards the local content that our people are actually producing.
Okay. Let me just ask you a philosophical question. It's been said that we're at the same level as the likes of Dubai, the likes of Singapore at the time of independence. But somehow some of those nations, including Rwanda these days, have left us in the dust. And that we don't seem to be getting to that destination where we are we're a developing country at the highest level. What do you think is the reason for that? Why are we lagging behind? Is there anything that we can do specifically to accelerate our efforts to be at the same level as the countries I've mentioned?
My humble opinion to that, and I think this is an opinion that you're asking me personally,
yes,
is that if we get more of our people realizing the potential and the opportunities that our country offers, they would realize they are surrounded by a wealth of opportunities that they have not taken advantage of. There is more to, doing tenders in the country. There is more to the industry itself. And I think, I don't know if this is a perception that we have, but somehow our citizens, including myself, have had some form of inferiority complex when it comes to establishing businesses in the country. And remember that if the involvement of citizens in the economic development of a country is lagging, then it simply means that the growth will not, or the value add will not go towards us as a country developing faster than expected. In some countries, decisions are made and then the following day are implemented. But for us, yes, we have a free economy and we are one of the best countries in the world when it comes to labor disputes. And our population and really our people are good people. But being good should not put us in the dark to believe that businesses are only meant for certain individuals or foreigners. I usually joke about this. I have passion in farming, and I used to produce. And
You're a weekend farmer like me.
Yes.
Normally month end weekend.
Yes. If people can see so much opportunity that is surrounding the agribusinesses, there's so much that our country is offering in terms of support financially in starting these. To start is difficult, yes. But, once you expose yourself to those who are in the industry and talking to them like I'm doing with Mogobe, you are able to understand what's happening in the country. You are contributing to policy advocacy. One of the things that I always talk about when it comes to the horticultural business in the country, and as an opinion, is to say that if we look at what Eswatini is doing, if we look at what South Africa is doing, in terms of growing that, they are producing fresh vegetables and fruits. And their model is simple. They have a centralized, market that also governs, cropping plans across the country and in all the regions. They have got clusters that are sustainable. And in the clusters, they produce for one market. In other words, the cluster cannot start, producing any crop before the market defines that this cluster for this season is going to be, producing cabbages.
In other words, you determine demand before you go and work on supply.
Yes. You see, once this model becomes operational in Botswana also, where you have a centralized governing market or body that controls cropping plans, then nobody in this country is going to be producing without the involvement of the market. In the Eswatini, for instance, they are exporting baby vegetables to the European market. In Botswana, we do have commercial farmers, we do have small scale farmers, and we also have those who just start up. And we find ourselves with no market because you start to produce before you know who you will be selling to. Again, the other gap that I have seen personally is that in terms of the standards, there's not so much involvement of, officers from our Ministry of Agriculture who are doing so much monitoring of how everything works in terms of quality management. BOSSC has developed horticultural standards that Botswana can use or farmers can use. In Eswatini, what they are doing is every day, an officer from the Ministry of Agriculture works at Mogobe's farm every day. And there's no one who's producing and selling vegetables or fruits without the involvement of this body. In other words, in Botswana, you might find a small farmer gets plots behind the house and they spray today, and tomorrow they sell the cabbage, and nobody has actually seen what has happened. But
nobody's interested in buying.
Yeah, but not in South Africa, but not in Eswatini. All processes in terms of quality control, in terms of fertigation, in terms of irrigation systems.
So how does that tie up with my original question, why we've been left in the dust by the Singapores, the Dubais, and the Rwandas of this world? Decision making,
in my humble opinion. We in this country, in my beloved country, Botswana, we do have, and this is just my humble opinion, we do have experts who come in and guide us as to what we can, use to drive the economy. They have very good policies they develop for us, and we pay for them. But unfortunately, the implementation side of things seems to be lagging. And you see, if I have a good policy that I believe would work and is time bound because there are trends, economic trends and market trends. So if one cannot, implement this, and if you shelve it, it means we are going to have to start again and look for another policy.
I understand what you mean.
Again, I will emphasize very much the fact that Botswana need to now get involved in businesses and in growing the economy. How? There's so much out there. We can talk until sunset. SEDA is there, LEA is there, and
BITC
BITC is there. There's so much hand holding.
Yeah.
I usually say to people sometimes when I get an opportunity to talk to them at a personal level, I like talking about wealth generation as well.
Yes.
I hate poverty and all its cousins. And I very much want young people to realize that they can make it like everybody else.
It's cousins like disease and suffering.
Yes, some of the diseases, Mogobe, and this is also just my opinion. Some of the diseases are not because you don't know how to do things. It's simply because there's no food at the table. You are tired of palichi and moro, but you
can only afford that.
You can only afford that. But again, poverty can only come to you if you are lazy and you are not, willing to move out of the box that you've confined yourself in.
Yeah.
For me, like I said when I spoke earlier, what Shanghai did to my life. When I came back from Shanghai, I saw things differently than when I was never there. So the exposure we get also in traveling to other countries, there's nothing wrong with you going to shop in Dubai and just see what people are doing in the side
just
of
to
Dubai.
learn.
There's no problem with you flying. There's a flight every day that from South Africa, Joburg, into a town called Kolwezi in DRC. And South Africans are getting support they get from government. South Africa is pumping billions of rands into assisting local, entrepreneurs to actually send services in the mining sector. They're involved in mining sector. They're involved in transportation businesses. They're involved in commodity, exports there. The other thing that I believe really should maybe government look into is when it comes to export businesses, we need to now start looking outside without fear. There are certain markets that would be red flagged. But like I said earlier, when you step into that market,
the market is a different story.
You would realize it's probably a different story. So not that I'm saying there are any agendas that are created by other countries, but business is competition.
Let's talk about AFTA, Africa Free Continental Trade Area. The whole plan is that in 23 years or so, we will now be a unified market. And the AFTA was rolled out 2021, January. Yes. And when I last checked, we still had not ratified it as Botswana. We had signed originally, but we hadn't ratified it.
Yes.
So what's BITC doing to push ratification, push implementation? And the second part of the question will be, how is it going to change the dynamic and how is it going to help us?
Imagine this, that the same diamonds that Botswana is sending to other parts of the world, such as Israel, I may expose the markets where diamonds are going, but if Botswana,
it's common knowledge.
If Botswana was to export diamonds into another African country, there are commodities that right now African continent should be exchanging with each other, unlike just sending out to foreign markets only. So the AFTA agreement is going to really open up doors to a lot of countries in Africa. That's obviously intra-regional trade. We would be able to send duty-free, quota-free access into other markets. Botswana is party to, like I said earlier, different trade agreements, bilateral trade agreements, economic partnership agreements, and also some of the free trade areas.
Yeah, I've heard the chief negotiator come and share on this.
Yes.
It's on the nuggets if anybody is interested.
Essentially, a customs union should allow you to send goods among the parties without any duties charged.
Yes.
Now, consider if all these boundaries in Africa are broken and we are able to, have access to millions and millions of consumers in Africa, because now I can actually say, I can send my goods to Tanzania, I can send my goods to Ghana, to anywhere else in the world. Our involvement as BITC, currently we sit in there is a board that has been set up. We are looking into market access, really looking into real export opportunities on this particular agreement, which started in January. And what we are doing there is making sure that we map the market access. We map opportunities that we believe would have borne fruits at a short space of time as opposed to the long term. And low-hanging
fruit.
Low-hanging fruit, so to say. So when that happens, then we are able to say, no, look, Mogobe, we believe that your product can compete for now in what we found out in Ghana. And this is the route that we believe you can take strategically to have that market assessed. So our involvement as a trade center and as a leading agency for investment promotion and export development is that we want to be able to look at all the gaps. At a starting point, you may not have all doors open as we expect, and therefore it's going to be a step-by-step approach, ensuring that everybody ratifies, and then you can then be able to trade among yourselves as a continent.
I've been listening to you now. It's been an hour, Calvin, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe your problem is one of marketing. What if you position yourselves differently and just openly say, you make millionaires, you make multimillionaires, and then just approach the youth on that basis? And won't you see a huge turnaround with people coming, rushing to your door, wanting to see how you can make them millionaires and create wealth for them? Isn't it just a need for change of emphasis and change of marketing emphasis, and to be a bit more shameless about it?
I think, like I had said earlier, Mogobe,
I'm just teasing you.
I know. Everybody wants to be successful, and our young people want to be billionaires. Just recently, look at the number of large diamonds that were discovered in our country.
Within a month, two biggest ones.
Yes.
The second and third biggest ones.
Imagine. Every time when I address young people, the first thing that I ask when I talk about mineral beneficiation, I ask them, who is wearing a diamond in the room? And sometimes you get the silence, and then I'll be like, why are we not wearing diamonds? And you start to ask them questions. Do you know how a diamond is cut? Do you know how we actually get it polished and export it? And when you ask such questions, people find it strange that you are able to talk about issues such as those, because we do have an attitude problem or inferiority complex that we have to deal with as young Botswana. We have this thing of believing that certain industries are reserved for certain individuals. We don't see ourselves being the key players in those and having involvement in it. This is where we come in. And I believe, yes, we may say that we are in the business of raising millionaires and billionaires. A lot of investors that came into our country that we facilitated for, some of them are now billionaires.
Can you say that again? Can you say that again for the record?
A lot of our investors who are coming from other countries to invest in Botswana, and
who went through BITC,
and the then Bedia, are billionaires as we speak right now. They made a decision to come and set up here, and they have gone far. They have expanded their operations, and it's quite easier for them now to be able to understand how trade works. It's quite easier for them now to get involved also. They're now looking at CSIs. They're looking at how they can actually help the investment.
So these are people coming from outside, but your mandate also includes helping those from within.
Yes.
And are there any examples? Are there any success stories without necessarily mentioning names? And
yes.
If there are none, yes, okay, you're about to tell.
Yes. So all I can say is that once SEDA and Leah establishes you as a business, we want you to know that the end is not the domestic market. There's so much that you can actually derive value from outside the country, and this is where BITC comes in. So people can come into our office, inquire about these opportunities that we are talking about. They should also look at other domestic investment opportunities that are there, and a lot of people have not tapped into them. And we want to believe that the more we educate our people in our campaigns, they should be having an understanding of where really they can derive value in. If they have money, some people are saying, no, I don't have money. I can't start a manufacturing firm. Well, even some of the investors here in Botswana investors, they actually once said that, but they realized that there is funding available. They started from where they started. They sold some of their property to attach as collateral to the loans. They were able to repay the loans. And right now, they are far in terms of their investment.
Okay. How do we get in touch with BITC?
Our offices are in Gaborone and Francistown. In Gaborone, we are in the CBD area in a exponential building. And then in
You
Francistown...
occupy half of that building, am I right?
Not really.
Just a couple of floors there.
Okay, we are on the ground floor, and then we are also on the first floor,
Okay.
and 7th and 8th floor.
That's almost like half.
The good thing you need to know about that building, just a way of trying to appreciate, is that it's owned by Botswana.
Yes.
And you can just see that this is what we want happening. We want the benefits to go towards our citizens by involving them in the economic development of the country.
Okay.
We also, like I said, have an office that we recently opened in Francistown. You have our people there who can actually assist you if you are based in that area. We also have an office in London. We also have an office right now in...
When you say an office, you mean attached to the embassy or to the High Commission?
Yes, we are attached to the High Commissions and embassy. I know in London we are under our embassy. I know in South Africa also, here in Sandton, we are also housed by our High Commission. And also recently, we used to be based in Mumbai, but we've since relocated our India office into New Delhi, where our embassy is also situated. Yeah. Yes, so those are our offices in the country. Our website is www.gobotswana.com.
www.gobotswana.com.
Yes, okay. And then we also have www.brandbotswana.co.bw. You also can find us on Facebook, BITC. You may also find us on YouTube as well and follow us, Botswana Investment Trade Center.
You're competing with us on YouTube now.
You see now,
it's friendly competition, I guess.
Business is competition, but you always know that we are there for you, Ramon.
Yes.
So ours is enabling you to go further as opposed to competing with.
I accept that.
Yes. Yeah. Viewers out there, this is an invitation from Botswana Investment and Trade Center that our country is participating at the World Expo in Dubai. We want to extend this invitation to yourself as a valued stakeholder or as an entrepreneur in Botswana to be able to engage with us and find ways with which you can contribute, find ways with which you can also find value for your investment by engaging with the world at large for starting this October 1st up to next year for 6 months in March. So we want to see you there, be party to this so that you can take our country far.
Okay.
So Mogobe, thank you so much. Had I prepared myself, I was going to shoot another question, but because of time, I think we'll continue to engage on the side. Yes.
Kelvin, thank you so much. You've been so generous. You know, you've been very thorough, and I appreciate the information you've shared. A little soft-spoken, but very, very powerful. I really appreciate what you've had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.